Hey y'all, I'm back with another video. It's your girl Ryan, Butterfly. You already know what it is. So I'm here to share with y'all my experience when I had COVID. All right. This happened back in 2022. It was April of last year. I was on my way to Mexico. I went, let me see here. I had went around my birthday month, birthday time frame. It wasn't until after I came back from Mexico where I had a layover in Chicago. And when I went to Chicago, I switched planes when I had the layover, and I sat next to somebody that was like coughing a lot. Now, mind you, I was not for the vaccination. Okay, I was traveling, living my best life, okay, with no vaccine. Okay, I was doing this for a while. Like, when I say a while, I was in the heart of the pandemic, taking advantage of those pandemic prices. Yes, I was. Them prices was like $20, $30 to prices that you wouldn't see normally. I was flying everywhere, you name it. I was in St. Louis, New Orleans. I was going, to like, where else did I go? Florida, Texas, Atlanta. Like, I was just going places every weekend almost. Boston, like, I was just traveling because those tickets were so cheap, okay? And mind you, at that time, sometimes I wouldn't even wear a mask. Now, it wasn't until the vaccination happened. I had received the vaccination in January of 2022. 3 months later, what happened? I ended up with COVID. Now, I noticed when I came back, I think it was like April 25th in the morning time, I had like a little dry cough. And then like later on, like after my flight had landed and I woke up like later that morning, I started noticing like my throat started to burn. When I coughed, my chest would hurt really, really bad. It started to become so painful that when I would cough, I would like, I had to hold my chest, like hold it, because I didn't want to cough, because when I would cough, my chest would hurt so, so, so bad. It was just unbearable. And I'm thinking at that time, because I came back from my vacation, I'm working and everything, and I believe it was like on a Wednesday, like 3 days later after the 25th. And I'm like, oh, something ain't right. And I didn't know instantly on the 25th that I had COVID until I took the test like maybe a few days later. I'm like, oh, it's just probably the flu. So I'm talking to my sister on the phone, and she's like, I'm telling you, you have COVID. I was like, don't say that. Don't dare say that. I'm like, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Don't you dare say that at all. So I started noticing other symptoms. Like, not only was my throat burning, but the chest pains happened when I would cough. And then I started noticing a wheezing started happening. But the wheezing only lasted for like a day. Then it seemed like each day I started getting more symptoms. So it went from that to, oh, now I'm hot and cold. I'm having my own freaking summer and winter at the same time. It got ridiculous to a point where I go outside, I have a sweater, a hoodie on, and a coat at the same moment. And other people are outside with like a light jacket or no jacket because it's like super hot. But I can't tell because I'm feeling every temperature at one time. Summer and winter is going on with me. So it was like I had the chills, I was hot, I was sweating. It was just uncomfortable. Then it was times where I just couldn't get out of bed. I was so in so much pain. Now, at first, it was just regular body aches. But then later on, it was like a stabbing, sharp pain I started feeling. It was dramatic, okay? To the point where it was like hard for me to get out of bed. And I was just like, oh my goodness, like what is going on? And I was sick with COVID past 2 weeks. Let me tell you, it went from the end of April to like the beginning of June where I still had a lingering cough. I didn't leave the house for like 4.5 weeks. I talked to my doctor on the phone. She was like, you don't have COVID anymore. I'm like, oh yeah, well, why am I coughing? Why I'm still feeling this way? And she's like, you just have lingering symptoms. I'm like, are you sure I could step outside right now? Because I was trying to take preventative measures. I didn't want to get anybody else sick. And she's like, yeah, you can come out. And then I'm like, oh my God. So it was like the first time I had McDonald's in the first time in a while, because I haven't seen life. I was like in a house. One time I came outside was to walk my dog. But when I went to the doctors, they let me come to office, because at first they were like, oh no, you're not coming in here. Because I took like a home test first. Then I went to a testing center and I found out I had COVID. I'm like, oh no. The next thing I know, I get the health people calling me. And at first they're texting me. Then they call. I'm like, let me answer this call. And they want to know a lot of stuff. Oh, what flight were you on? What time was that flight? What was the flight number? Oh, what hotel did you stay at? Oh, what was the room number? Excuse me? I'm not giving you all that information. That's none of your business. None of your business. I said they sanitize these rooms. And I didn't get COVID until I left Mexico. Matter of fact, I didn't have COVID until I was in Chicago, sitting next to a man who's coughing his lungs out while not wearing a mask. So therefore, I didn't have COVID when I left, because I was tested for COVID in Mexico and I was negative. So I gave them some information, but I'm like, dude, I'm not telling you the room number. I'm not giving you that information. Like, y'all going too far with this COVID stuff. Like, you don't need to know where I was and what time. I'm sorry, I'm a grown woman. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't stalk me. We're not doing it. We're not having this conversation. That's how I was feeling. But yeah, I was sick for a very long time. What was that, about a month and almost 2 months. Almost 2 months about. And I remember having a conversation with, I think it was like the T-Mobile lady. Because I was like calling about my phone service or whatever. And she was like, oh, I was sick with COVID for 2 months. I was like, what? Lies. And she's like, no, really. I had COVID for 2 months. I said, what? I said, that ain't gonna be me. And guess what? It was me. I was sick for a very long time. But I've been blessed. I haven't gotten it after that. And I really don't plan on getting that again. I really hope not to ever come across that again, you know, because if COVID tries to come at me, we're gonna fight. But yeah, that's my story about COVID. It was uncomfortable. A lot of the symptoms I had, it starts off like flu symptoms for me. It may be different for others, but it was painful. It was so painful. I just couldn't stand it. It was horrible. It was something that was out of my control, no matter how much cough syrup or medication or whatever I took. After a while, just nothing seemed to work. It was just unbearable. There was nothing I could do. I felt helpless. So, again, here's my story, and I'm here to tell it. All right. If anyone else can relate to what I'm stating, let me know. If you had COVID before, and what were your symptoms? How long did you have it for? What steps did you take to get better? All right. Well, this is it. Talk to you later. Mwah.